In 1967, a Big Mac cost 45 cents. Today it runs close to $6, about 13 times more. Put that way, it sounds like a scandal. But on its own, that number answers almost nothing, because the honest question was never how many dollars. It is whether a Big Mac is really more expensive at all, and compared to what. That answer depends entirely on what the burger is measured against. Against one yardstick, it is clearly more expensive. Against another, it has barely moved in almost 60 years. By the end, it will be obvious which of the two is the honest one. Start with the measure everyone reaches for first, the price of everything else. When the Big Mac arrived, a plain McDonald's hamburger sold for 18 cents, and the company worried nobody would pay more than double that for the new one. A year later, it had spread across the whole country. Now take that 45 cents and carry it forward by the rise in everyday prices ever since. 45 cents in the late 1960s works out to a little over $4 in today's money. The actual price sits closer to $6. So measured against the general cost of living, the Big Mac is not keeping pace with it. It is running ahead by something like 40% in real terms. Against that yardstick, the answer is a clear yes. It really did get more expensive. But the cost of living is not what a burger is actually bought with. It is bought with the minutes of work it takes to earn one. And measured that way, the whole story turns over. In the late 1960s, the average American worker earned around $3 an hour. A 45-cent burger cost that worker roughly 9 minutes of work. Today, the average wage sits near $32 an hour, and a $6 burger costs about 11 minutes. 9 minutes then, 11 now. In almost 60 years, measured in the time it takes to earn one, the Big Mac has hardly moved. So there are two facts here that seem to flatly contradict each other. Against the cost of living, the burger ran ahead by 40%. Against a paycheck, it barely changed. Both are true, and the reason they disagree is the entire point. The answer is in what a Big Mac actually is. Most of its price is not beef. It is labor. Only about a third of what the burger costs to make is food. The rest is the person behind the counter, the building, the power, the work of putting it together. And that work has a stubborn property. It cannot really be sped up. A cook in 1968 built one burger at a time, by hand, and a cook today still builds one burger at a time by hand. The factory that makes televisions learned to turn out 1,000 where it once made one. The kitchen never did. So the burger could not ride the wave of efficiency that quietly made so many other things cheaper. Its price is tied to something else: wages. When the wider economy grows and pay rises across the board, the burger has to pay its cooks more, even though they turn out burgers at exactly the rate they always did. That is why it climbed faster than the general cost of living, which is full of goods that slid downward in price. And it is why, measured against wages themselves, it stood almost still. A Big Mac does not track inflation. It tracks the paycheck. It also answers a question people often raise: how much of the price is just rising wages? Given everything so far, a large share of it. In fact, the burger tracks pay so closely that economists use it to measure wages directly. Orly Ashenfelter at Princeton has gathered the pay of McDonald's workers since 1998 and turned it into a count of how many minutes of work buy a Big Mac in different countries. In a rich one, it is a handful of minutes. In a poor one, it can take hours. The job behind the burger is nearly the same everywhere, and that is what makes the comparison work. Beef plays a smaller part than most would guess. It matters, and lately it has pushed upward hard. In 2025, ground beef passed $6 a pound for the first time on record, as the American cattle herd fell to its lowest level in more than 70 years. But at roughly a third of the cost, beef can only nudge the price. Labor sets it. There is one more way people are certain the Big Mac got more expensive, and it is the most common complaint of all. They say the burger itself got smaller, that the money goes up while the food goes down. It is a fair suspicion, and for once the numbers do not support it. The Big Mac has always been built the same way: 2 thin beef patties, about 1.5 ounces of meat each, on a 3-part bun, and that recipe has not changed since 1968. The whole sandwich weighs about 7.5 ounces today, the same as it did 15 years ago, and its calorie count has drifted slightly up over the years, not down. When a claim spread online that the burger had lost 40% of its size, fact-checkers traced the photos back to a larger burger sold abroad and a stunt version made for a video. McDonald's, for its part, spent 2024 making the burger better to eat, not smaller. With more sauce, meltier cheese, a toasted bun. The patty is the same size it was for the generation before. On this one, memory is playing a trick. But the feeling underneath the complaint is not wrong. Something did shrink. It just was not the burger. It was what a dollar buys around it. The sandwich held its size while the meal around it climbed. The company itself has said its average menu prices climbed about twice as fast as the cost of living in the 5 years after 2019. A Big Mac meal that was $7 and change in 2019 crossed $9 a few years later, and the fries beside it rose faster than the burger did. And the cheap way out that used to sit on the same menu, the dollar menu, where a sandwich really did cost a single dollar, is gone. What was $1 became $3, then $4. So the honest version of getting less for the money is not a smaller patty. It is a burger that holds its size while everything ordered with it, and every cheaper option next to it quietly costs more. The value shrank. The burger did not. Step back and the Big Mac becomes a way to read the whole economy. Over the same 60 years that the burger outran the cost of living, a television lost nearly all of its price. The set that cost as much as a month's wages in the 1960s cost a few hours of work now. One of those things could be handed to machines and stamped out by the million. The other still needs a person to assemble it, one at a time, on the spot. Almost everything that could be automated got cheaper. Almost everything that still runs on human hands got dearer. And that draws a quiet line straight through modern life. A haircut, a hospital stay, a plate carried to a table, a burger built to order. The things people need most from other people are exactly the things that resist being made cheap, which leaves a question worth sitting with. What happens to a system when the things that hold their price are the ones no machine can take over? The Big Mac in your hand is the same one your parents ate. 2 patties, 7.5 ounces, unchanged for almost 60 years. Only the price moved from 45 cents to $6, and it moved with the wage that pays for it. A sandwich that stood still long enough to measure everything else. That is about as honest as a price tag ever gets.